Hi, I'm Ronnie from Ronnie's Garage. Welcome to our monthly tech meet for the Rolls-Royce Owners Club of Southern California. Today we will be overhauling a water pump that has already been removed from an 85 Corniche. We'll try something though. Let's see if I can't.
Hold it in place and then tap.
And then let's see if I can't make it round again. Probably should have just found some washers to fit. Now I've got the dilemma here.
We're getting personal. How large your brain is.
Well, that's interesting because I wear a very big hat.
Didn't say big.
Doesn't mean it's full of brains.
Didn't say big head.
There's a big vacuum in there. I hear whistling all the time. That ringing in my ears is the wind. It's getting there. Alright, so how come every time we do one of these things it turns into something more than I anticipated?
Because the camera.
Exactly. Alright, now we've got to, let's put our soft jaws back in here. What's the difference? I guess not. We'll put this in. Okay, so I want to make sure everything lines up as this thing kind of wiggles back on there. Now, instead of hitting the outside of the bearing, I've got to hit the center of the bearing. Now, since I'm using a socket, I got to make sure that I'm bottoming out on the bearing and not the socket.
Check, please.
We're aiming for just right.
There you go.
Now, obviously, I'm going to have to see the snap ring groove come up above, and we're almost there, and then now I just happy water pump, happy life, right?
That's right.
There's usually a distinctive sound when you hit bottom, and I think we just hit it.
Yeah.
It just has a higher pitch. All right. Watch your eyes. So, I don't know if you guys can see. Anybody wants to look in here, you'll see the snap ring groove, and then you'll see a depth, which is about that depth. See it? On the shaft? Since I'm real close on this, and the shaft is kind of tapered anyways, I'm going to force this down there. You see on the shaft there's a snap ring groove, and then there's
So it's right over there.
yeah, this is going to go right over it. Oh, you want to see it?
Yeah, sure. Would you use your socket again?
Mm-hmm.
Force it over.
Ooh. Come on now. There we go. So, anyways, you see the extra snap ring groove with this?
Yeah, right.
Okay, that little snap ring went on. Okay. That was a good test, by the way, to make sure it spins. Been down that road before, huh? Doesn't turn! So normally this spacer would just drop right on there. But like I said, I'm going to force it on there. Since I'm not much of a blacksmith. And it's dropping down. It's already much rounder. But let's say someone at home pulled this apart, put it back together without those spacers. Now we just got that thing. Ah.
Put
Butcher.
it all together and turn on the car, the engine, and the water will be peeing out in all directions, and we'll start again.
That's a magnificent job. That's a magnificent job.
Well, that's
How many of these will you do in a month's time?
Oh, I haven't done one of these in probably a year and a half.
So you as an expert, it's a challenge.
So we can
How does
send,
a home mechanic even attempt something like this?
What's that saying you always hear? Don't try this at home?
Yeah,
Like I said, this is more for edification, but there are people out there, there's even mechanics out there that,
will we send you our old water pump and rebuild it for us overnight?
no. And I have in the past done stuff like that where I will do bench work. The problem is I like to reinstall it, make sure it's okay. If there are any problems with reassembly or with my rebuild, then I can take care of it. So now we have, it turns nice.
You gonna check the run out on it?
Run out? No. Not gonna check the run, it's a water pump. Okay, now we gotta put the seal on
It's a
it.
roll.
Like I said before, if you put the seal on here and just drive it on the outside, or drive it on the inside, you're gonna damage the seal. That's why this special tool, I think you can buy these, I don't know, but there is an RR tool that, as you can see, there's a shoulder down there to keep this from going too far, and there's a shoulder out here to press this at the same time. So that's how you press it on. Now, since this shaft,
That tool, you just completely screwed your job and wasted all your time.
well, I have cobbled together, somebody gave me this, a guy who closed his shop. I have cobbled together things, you know, assorted bearing races or whatever, and drove them on with success. So you can do this at home, but you have to make sure you know what you're up against. Because if you don't know this and you drive it in, you ruin the seal. I like this stuff just because we got rough surfaces, and as you see, this seal is coated with this black stuff which is supposed to seal. I don't care. I'm scared. So I always like to just, you don't have to go crazy with this stuff, but just a little bit.
And that's black anyway.
Well, you're not going to see that. I just don't want it to leak. So we'll go around there, and I'm going to put it around the shaft too, because it's pretty pitted. I don't know if you guys saw. It's the right stuff. Yeah.
You'll only use that once, SKY.
Well, I'll tell you what, you don't want it to set up on you if you're using it for the wrong thing. You'd be bonded for life. All right, so now I'm going to go over the press and press this in. Okay?
So you do use.
And you make I won't use this thing now because I don't want to press the bearing against the bearings. I'm going to press right directly against this shaft. Now the outside is against the housing, correct, but it's pretty lightweight on that. The center shaft is what I'm worried about. Okay, you keep pumping until you feel some good resistance. So now, we didn't damage this, and now we press the impeller on. And one more time, I'll be right back with the impeller. It doesn't hold back any. I'm going to put a little bit more sealer against this, because this is going to push it down just that extra bit. So what I'll do,
It helps to lubricate it then too, doesn't
whatever you,
it?
maybe in some level it does, but. All right. So you remember how this thing was right up against the end of the shaft?
Yes.
I think I don't know, it's not supposed to be that way, so I'm not going to put it back there. I usually like to have like a 25 thousandths gap in here between the housing and this, so that's how I'm going to put it back together.
And the center of the impeller was flush with the shaft, is that how it was?
On the end.
You initially thinking, you think that that'd be correct.
But it isn't.
Right.
It isn't. So, sticky. test it to make sure it's got clearance. I'm not gonna push it anymore, I think that looks good. And you will see it is just under flush. Just under. Before it was flush, and you had a big gap under here. I don't know if you guys noticed that. There we go. Water pump is done. Put it back on, fill it with coolant, cross your fingers.
Would you replace the overhead that's on there?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That goes in the housing. I got a housing over here if you guys want to see it. All right, here's the housing it fits into. So there's that chamfer I was talking about that the impeller goes up against. There's the center part where it sucks water from here. This groove right here is where the O-ring sits.
There's a gasket on here.
No, there's a groove right here where the O-ring sits.
And no gasket.
No gasket. Silver Cloud has a gasket, but the Shadow's on. They have O-rings.
So you're not going to use this as a little gasket thing?
You can. Thanks, Steve. We're done. Thanks for joining us.